Heading into an important road matchup for the San Francisco 49ers, this one element of the game could make or break not just the results of this upcoming matchup, but how we look at the ceiling of the 49ers for the rest of the regular season, and if they can make the playoffs, what the playoff football for the Niners can look like. We're going to break that all down for you on this episode of Niners Digest. My name is Ethan Galbraith. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any Niners updates. We're going to give you everything we got, including what this make or break element of the game is for the Niners. As we all know, the Niners are hitting the road this weekend. They're playing the Cleveland Browns on Sunday in some likely horrible weather conditions. We'll talk about that in a little bit, though. I want to start with this make or break element, and that is the offensive line. I highlight Trent Williams here because Trent Williams, of course, all pro left tackle, surefire Hall of Famer. Some would argue the best left tackle of all time. We're not talking about that today, though. But he's also the captain of not just the Niners offensive line, but captain of the entire team. And this upcoming matchup versus Cleveland, they have an important task. And on paper, the task actually isn't different from any other game. It was the same for the Panthers on Monday and the week before that and the week before that. It's to protect Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, of course, is under some fire. He did not play well against the Panthers. He threw 3 interceptions, but the offensive line more or less did its job. They didn't give up a single sack, and that is important for this upcoming matchup as well. You got to leave the ball. You got to leave the skill up to Purdy. You can't let more pressure get to him. All of his decisions are his own, and that will especially be the case in this upcoming matchup because they are not playing any other defense. They are playing this man, Myles Garrett, who is arguably the best player in football. He's definitely the best defensive player in football. And Myles Garrett this is not being dramatic, is in the middle of a potentially record-breaking season. The man has 18 sacks through 11 games, complemented, of course, by 3 forced fumbles and 26 tackles for losses. Myles Garrett is a freak of nature. This we have known for a long time. He's definitely going to be in the Hall of Fame at some point. And he is a one-man wrecking crew, and the Niners going on the road to play him in the middle of what's likely to be a record-breaking season is a bad recipe for him. But Myles Garrett can be a one-man wrecking crew, and he has been in the past and even this season, but he doesn't have to be because the Cleveland Browns are one of the best defenses in football. This is the chart of top to bottom the best defenses in football. Cleveland, in terms of total yards per game given up, is second to only the Houston Texans. Top to bottom, this Cleveland Browns defense is legit, and they are one of the best, if in some days they are the best defense in football. So don't look at everything else about this matchup to fool you into thinking that the Niners can just walk into Cleveland on Sunday and get the win. Yes, the Browns' record is not good. They're not fighting for a playoff spot like how the Niners are. Yes, they have had a rotating door at quarterback. Shedeur Sanders will be making just his second start against the Niners this weekend. But do not let any of that distract you from the fact that this Cleveland Browns defense has been the one consistent element of their game, and it's been a really good consistent. They have been one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in football. So this all plays into, again, it's important to protect Brock Purdy against a defense like this, but it gets complicated when you think about what this weather might look like. And these were pictures from the Cleveland Browns practice on Friday. You can see by those photos, that is snow and rain. That does not look like good weather, especially for the 49ers, who are a California-based team. They're not used to snow. I know that there is a really cool element that comes with NFL games in the snow. Fans have talked about how fun it is to watch. Players talked about how fun it is to play in it. But this is a recipe potentially for disaster for the Niners because you're playing a quarterback who has had some concerns about how well he's able to play after his most recent performance, and a run game that has been inconsistent at best. But if the Niners are going to deal with the weather the same way that the Browns are, this game can't be won or lost on the back of Brock Purdy, or the arm of Brock Purdy for that matter. It has to still be on the offensive line, not just with protecting him, but also running the football. And as mentioned, the Niners just have not been that great at it. They are one of just 7 teams who average less than 100 rushing yards a game throughout the season. And that is kind of embarrassing for a team whose identity under head coach Kyle Shanahan has been run first, emphasize physicality. They just outmuscle you. And especially when you have a running back like Christian McCaffrey, you should be getting more than 100 yards a game. It's also worth noting that, of course, the Browns' run game is one of the few run games that is worse than the Niners. But again, it all comes down to the Niners' offensive line, because Christian McCaffrey is one of the best players in football, and he's been putting up a borderline MVP season. If you look at in terms of how many touchdowns he scored, total amount of scrimmage yards he's gained. But again, look at the yards per rushing attempt. 3.7, less than 4 rushing yards per attempt is not very good. And if the Niners want to leave Cleveland with a convincing win, or just maybe even a win in general, they're going to need to get that number up. Of course, it does get better with tight end George Kittle on the field. He will be playing this weekend, so that he does prove to be a major boost to the run game. But it primarily relies on those 5 starting offensive linemen. And it's going to be crucial, especially against one of the best defenses. Of course, the Browns aren't that far behind in total yards per game from their rushing yards given up per game. They gave up a little more than 100 yards, which is around the same level as the Niners defense, just for a point of comparison. But with all this talk about how important the offensive line is, there is one player not on the offensive line who I think with a good O-line performance can really benefit from it and turn into the X factor for this game, and that is Brian Robinson Jr. I said in my video about the breakdown of the win versus the Panthers on Monday that Brian Robinson Jr. should be getting more touches. He should be carrying the ball more. There's no excuse for him to not get more carries. And this upcoming game, should the weather play out that forecasters are saying, this is the perfect opportunity for Brian Robinson Jr. to get those carries. There's no reason for him to not get at least 10. And I think with potential horrible weather coming on, you don't want Brock Purdy to throw the football 30 plus times in this game, maybe not even 25. You want to run the football. You're looking at potentially 40 plus runs in this game, and at least 10 of those should go to Brian Robinson Jr. He has a different running style from McCaffrey. He runs very angry, and it's a different pace from what the Browns defense would be used to with Christian McCaffrey, especially if you want to use McCaffrey more as, say, a slot receiver. But of course, Brian Robinson Jr. can't get that done if the offensive line isn't blocking for him well enough. So my final thoughts are this. It's all going to come down to the trenches. It's going to come down to those 5 offensive linemen that suit up and have to line up against one of the best players in football, and definitely the best defensive player in football, who's on the verge of having a record-breaking season. The last thing you want is for him to break the single-season sack record against you. You wouldn't want that to happen. So it all comes down to Trent Williams and his offensive line. It's something that we've seen in the past. They can definitely play well and get openings and availabilities for the running game, but they haven't played a defense. They've played the Texans, of course, and it was a mixed bag. You, of course, didn't have Brock Purdy for that game, but this is your opportunity to show that you can run the football well against really talented teams. If you want to make a run in these playoffs or even get into the playoffs, the Niners are going to have to show that they are an improved running team. And it gets to a point where it is what it is, but there are levels that can be improved. With all of the injuries the Niners have had, and without a full season of George Kittle, you can run the football better down the stretch of this season, and it starts in Cleveland in potentially the rain and snow. We'll keep you, of course, updated on how that game goes and if the offensive line is a make or break for this game, whether it's a win or a loss. But more people should be tuned into this. This is an important game, not just for the Niners, of course, but for the greater NFC playoff seedings, despite this being an AFC-NFC matchup, of course. So we'll keep you posted on how all of that goes. We'll have a discussion about how the results of the game went. But for now, that's all we have for this episode of Niners Digest. Thank you again so much for watching. My name is Ethan Galbraith, and we will see you in the next video.